My child, draw near to me now, for I have something sacred to place upon your spirit. There has been a stirring in the unseen, a tremor that moveth through the quiet places where destinies are written and guarded. You felt it without knowing why, a pressure behind your ribcage, a sudden awareness that brushed against your soul like a whisper carried by soft thunder. I am the one who allowed that sensation, for a moment unfolded in the unseen world that concerns you deeply. Someone spoke your soulmate's name, and they did not speak it casually. They spoke it with intention, with desire, with calculation, and the sound of it shifted the energy around your connection. My child, before I take you deeper, breathe with me. Let your heart steady itself. The spiritual air around you hath been alive, with movements you could not see but were meant to sense. When their name was spoken, something old awakened, something fragile trembled, and something hidden tried to rise to the surface. The realm of the unseen is never silent, though you often are not aware of its noise. But this moment was different. This moment touched the thread that binds your soul to another. This moment touched destiny itself. My child, if you feel led, share this message with those whose spirits resonate with yours, for sometimes my words flow through you to awaken many. I speak this softly, not as command, but as invitation. There was an intent behind that spoken name. It was not spoken in passing. It was spoken in a way that tugged at spiritual lines connected to you. The one who spoke it felt something shifting, and they reacted from a place of deep emotion you were never meant to carry, but emotion that now reveals a hidden truth in the story unfolding around your soulmate. That name rolled off their tongue with weight, and the unseen world immediately responded. The atmosphere tightened. The air thickened. Angels paused. Cannons stirred. The heart of your soulmate felt it like a sudden pull, an old memory cracking open, a buried longing trying to resurface. My child, there is something you must understand. Every name carries energy, but when a name is spoken with intention, it becomes a key that unlocks things hidden inside a person's heart. And when it comes to your soulmate, their heart is not simple ground. It is layered, tender, wounded, guarded, and still marked by the echo of your presence. Even when they try to forget you, even when they push you away, even when they pretend you never mattered, their spirit betrays their silence. Their name in another's mouth awakened something they thought they had buried. I saw their reaction, my child. I watched their spirit falter for a moment, as if someone had struck a forgotten chord. They tried to hide it, but their pulse changed. Their breath slowed, their thoughts tangled. And I began preparing you to feel the echo of that moment, because it concerns you more deeply than you know. You and this soulmate are not strangers wandering on parallel paths. Your souls have known each other far longer than your minds understand. The bond between you still exists in a realm untouched by human logic, and so when someone else touches their name with intent, it vibrates along the thread that links you. My child, you are not imagining the sensation that visited you, that tug in your spirit, that subtle ache, that sudden heaviness. It was real, and it was purposeful. For destiny shifted slightly, and now I must reveal what that shift means for you, for them, and for the path that will soon unfold before both of you with breathtaking clarity. My child, listen closely, for what I am about to reveal requires a steady heart. The one who spoke your soulmate's name did not do so with innocence. Their voice carried an intention shaped by curiosity, suspicion, and a quiet hunger to influence what does not belong to them. They tasted the name as if testing its power, watching the reaction, seeking to understand the bond your soulmate has tried so hard to conceal. This was not a harmless moment. It was a spiritual probe, a deliberate attempt to stir something, to shift something, to claim something they sensed but could not fully grasp. When they spoke the name, it was as though they were reaching into a place within your soulmate spirit that should have remained untouched by anyone but you. And I, who see all things done in secret, watched as their motives rippled through the atmosphere. They sensed your soulmate's vulnerability. They sensed the tender place your presence still occupies. They sensed the unresolved longing your soulmate carries quietly, the kind that leaks through their tone when they speak of you or avoid speaking of you altogether. That is why this person spoke the name. They wanted to test the ground. They wanted to see if the bond was still alive. My child, the moment the name was spoken, your soulmate's heart reacted with a force they did not expect. Their spirit tightened, not in anger, but in fear of exposure, fear of truth, fear of the tender ache they still cannot outrun. Your soulmate tried to appear unmoved, but the intention behind that spoken name dug into the parts of them they keep hidden. And this person noticed. Their eyes caught a shift, a flicker, a softness your soulmate could not hide quickly enough. It exposed something your soulmate has been trying to suppress for far too long. My child, the one who spoke the name did so with layered desires. They want access. They want influence. They want control over a heart that does not belong to them. They have watched the way your soulmate's energy changes when anything related to you arises. They have sensed a silent history, a quiet longing, an invisible thread connecting you both. Their curiosity has grown into something deeper, something more intrusive, and in the moment they spoke the name, they were testing the boundaries of your soulmate's emotions. But they did not expect what happened next. The atmosphere around your soulmate shifted suddenly, as though memories and emotions long buried began to surface. I allowed a moment of truth to crack open, revealing the spiritual imbalance this outsider has caused. They have been influencing your soulmate through subtle persuasion, through carefully woven words, through emotional pressure that operates just beneath the surface. Their intention is not love. Their intention is not purity. Their intention is rooted in fear of losing control, fear of losing access, fear of losing the influence they have worked so hard to maintain. When they spoke your name, they were hoping to confirm their suspicions, hoping to see whether the connection between you and your soulmate still lives. And what they witnessed confirmed everything. A tremor ran through your soulmate's spirit. A softness flickered in their eyes, a longing they could not hide. A frozen moment revealed the truth. Your name still carries power over them. Your memory still holds weight. Your presence still echoes through the quiet rooms of their heart. They tried to dismiss it quickly, to redirect the conversation, to pretend the name meant nothing. But the one who spoke it saw everything. And in that moment, envy began to rise. A silent threat formed in their spirit, a desire to protect their position, to deepen their influence, to interfere with what is sacred between you and your soulmate. My child, this moment did not happen by accident. I allowed it to expose what has been hidden, to shake loose the truth buried beneath their silence. And now the spiritual atmosphere is shifting again, preparing to reveal much more than your soulmate ever intended to show. My child, let me draw you deeper into the moment when the atmosphere itself changed, for it was not merely an emotional reaction or a passing shift in energy. It was a spiritual tremor, a silent quake that moved through the realm surrounding your soulmate the instant their name was spoken with intention. The air around them thickened, not with fear, but with revelation. It was as if a curtain that had been drawn tightly for months suddenly loosened, allowing a sliver of truth to slip through. I permitted that shift, for what has been concealed for too long must now begin its unveiling. Your soulmate felt the atmosphere tighten around them like a subtle pressure against their chest. Their breath paused, their thoughts collided, and their spirit recoiled, then opened, confused and unsteady. They sensed a presence, not physical, but deeply spiritual, a reminder of the connection they still carry with you. Their heart recognized the echo, the vibration of your energy moving through the unseen spaces they try to ignore. This shift was not a coincidence. It was the stirring of destiny pushing to the surface. The one who spoke the name noticed this change immediately, though they did not understand it. They sensed the energy in the room altering, becoming heavier, almost reverent. They felt a distance form between themselves and your soulmate, a space charged with something they could not penetrate. It unsettled them, my child, because they realized they were standing in the presence of a bond that their intentions cannot override. They felt the truth rising even before your soulmate admitted it to themselves. Your soulmate tried to ground themselves quickly, but the shift in the atmosphere was too strong. Old emotions they had sealed away began to press against the walls of their heart. Memories resurfaced, the sound of your voice, the softness of your presence, the comfort they once felt when your spirit brushed against theirs. They tried to silence the rise of these memories, but the spiritual realm would not allow it. I would not allow it. It was time for the truth to awaken again. My child, understand this. When a name carries destiny, the atmosphere responds. When a bond is divinely written, even the slightest mention of one soul stirs the other. This shift was not merely emotional. It was a reminder to your soulmate that no matter who stands near them, no matter who speaks around them, the tie that binds you remains untouched in the higher realms. Your presence still lives in the quiet corners of their heart, and the atmosphere revealed this before they could hide it. As the shift deepened, your soulmate felt exposed, vulnerable, as though someone had pulled back a veil they were desperate to keep closed. The tension in the room became palpable. The one who spoke the name felt something tighten in their own spirit, an unease born of envy and fear. They sensed that your presence still stands between them and what they desire. They realize they are trying to hold a heart that is not fully theirs. My child, in that moment, angels stood closer. They observed the hearts of both individuals. They listened to the motive swirling in the unseen. The shift in the atmosphere was the first sign that hidden truths were about to break open. It was the universe itself responding to a bond that cannot be erased or manipulated by human hands. The atmosphere became a witness, a quiet recorder of truth, preparing to reveal that your connection is still alive. Your soulmate left that moment shaken, carrying the weight of emotions they thought they had buried. They felt guilty for acting. They felt afraid of what their reaction meant. They felt the beginning of a spiritual unraveling they could not stop. And the one who spoke the name felt the rise of a dark unease, a jealousy they will soon try to hide. My child, this atmospheric shift was only the beginning. More will surface. More will break open. And the revelation that follows will change everything your soulmate thought they understood. My child, come closer, for now I must take you into the heart of your soulmates, trembling, the place where their emotions collided the moment your name was spoken, the moment the atmosphere shifted, the moment the truth pressed against the walls they have built within themselves. What happened inside them was not small, nor was it something they could easily dismiss. It was a collapse, subtle on the outside but thunderous within, a breaking open of feelings they have carried quietly yet heavily. When the name left that other person's lips, your soulmate felt something inside them loosen, as though a thread they had tied tightly around their own heart began to fray. It was fear at first, fear of being exposed, fear of revealing too much, fear that their truth was more visible than they intended. They have spent so long trying to mask their emotions, my child, covering their longing with logic, distraction, stubbornness, and silence. But when your name was spoken, the mask cracked. Their spirit reacted faster than their mind could restrain it. In that moment, they felt guilt for still loving you, guilt for hurting you, guilt for running, guilt for pretending that what existed between you could be erased simply by refusing to speak of it. They felt the weight of things they never apologized for, things they tried to bury beneath busyness, noise, and other people's company. That guilt rose like a tide, catching them off guard, pulling them inward to confront the truth they've been denying. But fear and guilt were only the surface. Beneath those emotions was something deeper longing. My child, your soulmate has tried to silence the aching softness that comes with thinking of you. They push it down when it rises. They distract themselves when memories come. They tell themselves they made the right choices, even when their heart whispers otherwise. Yet when your name was spoken with intent, that longing broke through every defense. It surfaced like a breath they had been holding for too long. They felt the ache of your absence, the way your presence once grounded them, the way your spirit once calmed their storms, the way your voice once softened their burdens. They felt the weight of your distance, the reality of your silence, the truth that they have been missing something irreplaceable. This collapse was not weakness but awakening, the beginning of a reckoning between their heart and the choices they've made. And my child, confusion wrapped around all of it. They know they still care. They know something in them leans toward you even when they try to pull away. They know that the connection between you is unlike anything they have experienced. But they also know that someone has been standing close to them, someone who feels threatened by your existence, someone whose intentions pull them away from the truth rather than toward it. Your soulmate feels torn, pulled by loyalty, fear, obligation, and the subtle pressure of the one who spoke your name with such calculated curiosity. This emotional collapse was the first moment your soulmate felt the spiritual consequences of allowing that person too close. Their heart recognized immediately that the energy around them shifted because this person is touching places they should not touch. And your soulmate felt a sudden panic, a realization that they might have given the wrong person too much access. Their heart trembled because they sensed deep down that something sacred was being interfered with. My child, I saw them lower their gaze. I saw their breath stall in their chest. I saw the way they clenched their hands, trying to steady themselves. They were terrified that their reaction had been seen. They feared the other person now knew the truth, that your name still holds power, that your presence still lives in them, that their heart still leans in your direction even when their words deny it. Your soulmate spent the rest of that moment trying to recover, trying to cover up what cracked open inside them. But the collapse had already happened. The truth had already risen. And though they tried to regain control, they could not stop the flood of emotions that swept through them. They carried that trembling with them long after the conversation ended. They felt your spirit near them in a way they haven't in a long while. They felt exposed but also strangely relieved, as though their heart had finally admitted something it was tired of hiding. My child, this collapse was necessary. It was the beginning of their awakening. It was the spark that will lead them into the deeper truths I am preparing to reveal. My child, come deeper still, for now we enter the chamber of the truth that was never meant to surface yet has begun to rise because destiny itself is tired of waiting. Your soulmate has been carrying a secret, one they buried so deeply that even they began to believe it was gone. But when their name was spoken with intent, when the atmosphere shifted, when their heart trembled, that secret stirred like something long asleep but never dead. This secret is not a scandal of the world, but a confession of the soul. It is the truth of how much they felt for you, how deeply they loved you, how profoundly you affected them. They hid it because they feared its power. They hid it because the connection was so intense it frightened them. They hid it because someone in their life whispered doubts, fed their insecurities, nudged them away from believing they were worthy of a love so pure. And in their weakness, they listened. But the truth never died, my child. It only sank beneath layers of fear, pride, confusion, and influence from voices that were not meant to guide them. This hidden truth has been waiting, pressing against the inside of their heart like a letter that was never mailed, like a message sealed away in a drawer that no one ever opened. And now, with a tremor caused by that spoken name, the seal is cracked. Your soulmate remembers more than they admit. They remember the moment they realized you saw them, not the person they pretended to be, not the facade they showed the world, but the fragile, yearning, imperfect soul beneath it all. They remember the comfort of your presence, how you steadied their storms without demanding anything in return. They remember the way their spirit softened around you, the way your energy felt like home. They remember the way you made them feel safe, understood, chosen. And they remember the moment they pulled away. They remember the fear that overtook them, the anxiety that whispered that this connection was too strong, too spiritual, too transformative. They remember telling themselves they were not ready. They remember the guilt of abandoning something sacred. They remember the silence that followed, and how it hollowed them out more than they expected. My child, they kept this truth hidden because admitting it felt dangerous. They feared that acknowledging how deeply they felt for you would require them to face wounds they were not prepared to heal. They feared that loving you so intensely would expose their weaknesses. They feared that stepping toward you would require them to step out of old patterns, old loyalties, old influences that have held them captive for far too long. This secret was not about you, it was about them. It was about their fear of their own vulnerability. Yet the connection between you was so powerful that even now, after all the distance, after all the silence, the truth has begun to break through. And my child, this hidden truth becomes even more significant when seen in the light of the one who spoke their name. That person has sensed for a long time that your soulmate carries something sacred within them, something they cannot fully access or control. They notice the shift in your soulmate whenever your presence brushed their mind. They saw the flicker, the softness, and they began to suspect that you still live inside your soulmate's heart. Your soulmate tried to hide it. They tried to bury the truth so no one could see it, especially the one who has been trying to shape their emotions. But the heart cannot lie, not forever. And when your name was spoken, the truth they buried rose up with unmistakable clarity. This secret, my child, is not merely that they cared. It is that they never stopped caring. They never stopped loving in the quiet, hidden ways. They never stopped longing for the connection they abandoned. The truth that was never meant to surface is that your soulmate has been living with a silent ache that only you could soothe. And now that truth is rising, pushing against every lie they told themselves, every distraction they used, every wall they built. The secret is awakening, and it will not return to silence. My child, now we must turn our gaze toward the one whose presence has interfered, the one whose voice wrapped itself around your soulmate's name with such intention. This person hath been standing close not by divine design, but by emotional strategy. They have positioned themselves carefully, watching, waiting, studying every shift in your soulmate's heart. And though they pretend to offer support, their spirit carries a quiet jealousy that has been growing like a shadow behind them. This jealous one is not always loud, not always obvious. Their manipulation is subtle, woven into casual conversations, gentle suggestions, strategic silences, and carefully timed questions. They sensed long ago that your soulmate's heart was marked by someone they could not compete with. They felt your presence even when you were absent, even when your soulmate said nothing about you. and it frightened them, my child, because they saw something they could not control. This person noticed the softness that entered your soulmate's eyes whenever something reminded them of you. They felt the shift in energy whenever your name hovered silently in your soulmate's mind. They recognized that there was a bond deeper than anything they could create. And so, they began to act not out of love but out of fear, not out of purity but out of insecurity, not out of devotion but out of the desperate desire to keep influence over your soulmate's heart. The one who spoke the name with intent did so to test, to provoke, to uncover the truth they have been trying to force into the light for months. They wanted to see if the connection between you still lived. They wanted to measure your soulmate's reaction, to confirm whether the suspicion they carried was real. And when they saw the tremor, the flicker, the crack in your soulmate's composure, something sharp rose in them. Jealousy. You washed through them like heat, tightening their tone and darkening their thoughts. They tried to hide it behind a knowing smile, behind a light question, behind a casual expression. But inside, they were shaken. They realized that no matter how close they stand, no matter what they say, no matter how they try to influence your soulmate, your presence still holds a place they cannot touch. This jealous one has been interfering in ways your soulmate is only beginning to recognize. They have planted seeds of doubt, whispering that your soulmate should move on, that their past with you was a mistake, that choosing you would only bring pain. They use subtle persuasion to pull your soulmate away from truth and toward confusion. They offered themselves as comfort, hoping that proximity would bloom into affection. But my child, their motives were never innocent. They wanted ownership of a heart that was never theirs to claim. When your name was spoken, their strategy cracked. They saw the truth they feared. Your soulmate's emotions are not dead. The bond is not broken. The connection is not gone. And in that moment, they began to fear losing whatever influence they believed they gained. Your soulmate sensed something too. They felt the pressure this person had been exerting. They felt the manipulation, the subtle control, the emotional expectation that has been shaping their decisions. And when their reaction to your name betrayed the truth, they felt a sudden panic, not only because their emotions were exposed, but because they realized someone has been watching them far too closely. My child, jealousy is a powerful force in the unseen realm. It opens doors for confusion, tension, and interference. And the jealousy of this person has been affecting the atmosphere around your soulmate for far longer than they understand. But do not fear. Jealousy may rise, but it will not triumph. For the divine realm has already begun to intervene. The interference is being exposed. The hidden motives are being unmasked. The shadows surrounding your soulmate are losing their grip. And I am preparing to reveal every lie, every manipulation, every false intention that has tried to stand between you and the destiny written for your souls. My child, this jealous one has stirred the spiritual waters, but they have also awakened divine justice. And now the courtroom of heaven is preparing to open. My child, step with me now into the divine courtroom, for it has opened in the unseen realms, and every hidden intention, every whispered manipulation, every motive wrapped in shadow is being laid bare. This is not a courtroom of earthly judgment, but a sacred place where truth has authority, where lies lose their power, where destiny speaks louder than fear. This is where I bring clarity to souls who have been tangled in confusion, and this is where your soulmate's story now stands. When the jealous one spoke your name with intention, when the atmosphere tightened and spiritual pressure rose, the heavens recorded every vibration. The tremor in your soulmate's heart was not ignored. The envy rising in the other person's spirit did not go unseen. The strain pressing against your connection was not overlooked. I gathered these threads and brought them into my council, for interference against a divine bond cannot remain hidden forever. In the divine courtroom, angels stood like still pillars, listening to the truth beneath the surface of every action. Your soulmate was unaware their spirit had been brought forward, unaware that their quiet tremble, their guilt, their longing, their unspoken prayers were placed before me. The jealous one, too, stood spiritually exposed, their manipulations, their subtle control, their intentions of possession laid out like open pages. Nothing was concealed, my child. Not a single motive, not a single emotion, not a single whispered influence. Your soulmate's heart appeared fragile in that place, trembling as if caught between two forces, the truth they feel for you, and the pressure of the one trying to claim them. They looked weary, burdened, torn in ways they could not articulate. But I saw beyond the weariness. I saw the longing they have suppressed. I saw the bond they still carry with you. I saw the prayers they never voiced, but felt. I saw the depth of what they tried so hard to hide. The jealous one's spirit, however, revealed something else: fear wrapped in ambition, insecurity wrapped in false affection, desire wrapped in control. They wanted what they sensed belonged to you. They wanted the place your soulmate reserved without speaking. They wanted access that was never theirs to have. And though they masked their actions with kindness and care, their spiritual intentions were stained with envy. My child, in the divine courtroom, truth is not measured by words but by energy, by resonance, by the spiritual imprint of each heart. Your soulmate's heart whispered your name even in silence. The jealous one's heart whispered possession, competition, desire to influence. The contrast was unmistakable. I examined the connection between you and your soulmate, threaded with destiny, marked with spiritual design, alive even when neglected. And I examined the tie between your soulmate and the jealous one, thin, forced, strained, lacking true alignment. One bond was written in the higher realms. The other was formed in the shadows of insecurity. The heavens weighed these truths, and the verdict began to form. My child, know this: nothing done against your connection will stand. No manipulation, no jealousy, no emotional prayer will succeed. The divine courtroom has recognized the interference for what it is. Angels have been assigned to dismantle it. The influence of that jealous spirit will weaken. The confusion surrounding your soulmate will break. The fog clouding their judgment will lift. I have begun to clear the path. Your soulmate felt the shift without understanding its source, a sudden clarity, a sudden discomfort with the one who spoke your name, a sudden awareness that something was wrong in the dynamic they once tolerated. That is the courtroom at work. That is divine justice unraveling false ties. That is destiny reclaiming what belongs to it. My child, the courtroom does not close until the truth begins to rise. And already, evidence is moving to the surface: signs, conversations, realizations that will soon expose everything hidden. Your soulmate is being pulled out of confusion. And now, the unseen begins to reveal what was kept from you both. My child, walk with me now along the hidden trail of evidence, for the divine courtroom has already released its ruling into the unseen, and the truth is beginning to reveal itself piece by piece. What was once subtle is becoming noticeable. What was once concealed is being illuminated. What was once tangled in shadows is now unraveling strand by strand, exposing the intentions, the emotions, and the spiritual forces that have been at work around your soulmate. Your soulmate has begun to feel at first small shifts that they cannot explain. They find themselves second-guessing the words of the one who spoke your name. They replay the moment, sensing something was off in the tone, something calculated behind the question. They feel uneasy in conversations that once felt normal. They sense pressure where they used to sense comfort. Their heart, still tender from the tremor your name awakened, has begun to perceive the manipulation that once slipped beneath their awareness. These subtle recognitions, my child, are not coincidences. They are evidence rising from the spiritual realm into the physical. Their intuition is being sharpened by my hand. The fog that once clouded their judgment is thinning. They are beginning to see the jealous one's motives not through charm or familiarity, but through truth. The first evidence appeared in their emotions. They notice that when they think of you, something within them softens, opens, breathes. But when they think of the one who stands near them now, something tightens, contracts, resists. Their spirit differentiates the energies even before their mind admits the truth. This emotional contrast is the beginning of the unraveling. The second evidence surfaced through conversation. The jealous one slipped offset by insecurity, unsettled by the tremor they witnessed. Their words grew sharper, their curiosity more invasive, their tone laced with something they tried to disguise. They attempted to press deeper, to confirm the reaction they saw, to anchor themselves more tightly into your soulmate's life. But in doing so, they revealed what lies beneath their motives. Your soulmate felt the shift. They sensed that what they thought was concern was actually possession. What they assumed was care was actually fear of losing control. The third evidence appears in their dreams. Your soulmate has begun having quiet, vivid dreams, memories of you, moments they thought they forgot, feelings they tried to bury. They wake with the impression of your presence, a lingering warmth on their spirit, a soft ache that whispers truth. And though they try to dismiss these dreams, they cannot. The divine realm is using their sleeping hours to remind them of what is real and what is not. The fourth evidence has begun forming in the jealous one's behavior. They are growing restless, anxious, uneasy. They are watching your soulmate too closely. Your questions carry insistence. Their mood shifts suddenly. Their patience thins. Jealousy is cracking through their facade, and your soulmate is beginning to notice. All of this, my child, is part of the divine unveiling. Evidence is rising not to create chaos, but to bring clarity. Your soulmate must see the difference between love and control, between destiny and interference, between the bond you share and the binding that the jealous one has tried to create. And yet, the most powerful evidence is not external, it is the way your name refuses to leave your soulmate's heart. Since the moment it was spoken, their spirit has been stirring. They feel you in quiet moments. They think of you when they least expect it. They remember details they thought they lost. They sense a pull, gentle yet persistent, reminding them that something unfinished still calls out to them. Evidence, my child, is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it appears in the softest shift, the smallest recognition, the quietest unease. But piece by piece, the truth is assembling itself, preparing to reveal the full picture. And when all of it rises to the surface, when every hidden motive, every emotional manipulation, every buried feeling stands exposed, your soulmate will no longer be able to deny what their spirit has known from the beginning. The truth is coming. It is already speaking. It is already reshaping the path ahead. My child, now we enter the moment when truth begins to break through, when the unseen finally presses into the visible, when the veil thins enough for your soulmate to feel the full weight of what has been hidden from them. The evidence that gathered quietly is no longer whispering. It is rising like dawn light, slow but undeniable, illuminating everything that once lived in shadow. Your soulmate has felt the shift growing stronger by the day. They sense that something within them is changing, rearranging itself, pulling them toward clarity they tried for so long to avoid. They no longer brush aside the unease they feel around the jealous one. They no longer ignore the heaviness that forms whenever that person stands too close. Instead, they find themselves questioning what they once accepted, noticing what they once overlooked, feeling what they once silenced. The truth, my child, is beginning to speak. It speaks in their emotions first. Your soulmate feels moments of sudden softness when your memory rises, moments where their heart warms, expands, reaches forward as if recognizing something familiar, something pure. But when the jealous one tries to claim their attention, their heart retracts. This emotional recoil is not coincidence, it is truth pushing through their layers of denial. Their spirit is revealing what their mind has resisted. Truth also speaks through tension. Conversations that once felt harmless now feel forced. Questions that once seemed casual now feel invasive. The jealous one's attempts to secure their influence no longer land softly, they land like warnings. Your soulmate feels the pressure in the tone, in the insistence, in the way that person watched them during the moment your name was spoken. Every detail that used to seem small now feels significant. My child, truth speaks through patterns. Your soulmate is beginning to see that the jealous one's kindness always came with expectation. Their support always came with subtle dependence. Their words always carried hidden comparison. These realizations are not accidental. I am sharpening their discernment. I am lifting the fog that once blinded them. I am freeing their vision from the emotional nets that were cast around them. And truth speaks through memory. Your soulmate can no longer suppress what they felt for you. The feelings they buried rise at unexpected times, during quiet moments, during restless nights, during the stillness of early morning. They remember how safe they felt with you. They remember how connected their spirit felt in your presence. They remember the comfort, the softness, the authenticity that the jealous one has never been able to replicate. Truth speaks through guilt as well, not to condemn them, but to awaken them. They feel remorse for abandoning a bond they now realize was sacred. They regret listening to voices that were never meant to guide them. They feel the sting of losing what their heart still longs for. This is not punishment, my child, it is awakening. And finally, truth speaks through spiritual tension. Your soulmate senses that something divine is at work, something bigger than their confusion or the jealous one's influence. They feel the atmosphere around them shifting again, but this time it is not clouded, it is clear, sharp, purposeful. It is the pull of destiny breaking through. The jealous one, sensing this shift, grows more restless, more reactive, more aggressive in their emotional tactics. Their attempts to hold on tighten, but in doing so, their true intentions become even more visible. Your soulmate sees it. They may not speak it yet, but they feel it in their bones. My child, the cracks in the false narrative are widening. The truth is seeping through those cracks like light breaking through prison bars. What was once hidden is now stirring. What was once denied is now rising. What was once buried is now demanding to be seen. Truth is not coming, it is already here, changing everything. My child, now we come to the trembling place within your soulmate where awakening begins slow at first, then suddenly, like a flood breaking through a weakened gate. Truth has risen, evidence has revealed itself, and now their heart faces what it can no longer outrun. This awakening is not gentle, is not easy. It shakes them, it exposes them, humbles them. But it is necessary, for destiny does not move forward until the soul confronts what it has feared the most. Your soulmate is afraid, my child, not of you but of themselves. They fear the depth of their own feelings, the intensity of the connection they share with you, the truth that refuses to stay buried. They fear the consequences of acknowledging what their heart has whispered in silence for so long. They fear losing you. They fear that their hesitation, their distance, their silence may have closed the door forever. This fear presses on them late at night, when their distractions fall silent and their spirit is left standing alone with truth. In those hours, they feel the ache of your absence more than ever. They replay moments between you, wondering if you still care, wondering if you still think of them, wondering if you felt the tremor when their name was spoken. They are terrified that they allowed the wrong hands to shape their path. They fear they trusted the jealous one's influence more than their own intuition. They fear they betrayed their own heart. And yet, beneath the fear, awakening spreads like warm light breaking through a cold room. Your soulmate is beginning to recognize the difference between manipulation and love. They see that the jealous one never offered true freedom, only emotional dependency. They see that the comfort they accepted was actually a subtle cage. They see that the reassurance they clung to came with invisible strings. These realizations shake them deeply, for they reveal how much they were guided by fear rather than truth. But your presence, your memory, your energy, your imprint does not cage them. It frees them. Even the thought of you brings breath to places where they felt suffocated. This contrast is awakening their spirit. This difference is exposing the truth. This clarity is pushing them toward the recognition that what they shared with you was not ordinary affection, it was destiny touching their life. My child, they fear losing you because now, more than ever, they see how precious your connection truly was. They fear they have pushed away the one soul who understood them. They fear the damage done by silence, confusion, and interference. Their heart trembles because it knows the truth. They still love you. They never stop. And now that this truth has resurfaced, every step away from you feels wrong. Every distance between you feels unnatural. Awakening is painful because it requires them to confront their own choices. But awakening is also holy, because it returns them to the truth written for their spirit. They feel pulled strongly toward reconciliation, toward understanding, toward healing the distance that grew between you. They feel compelled to break free from the jealous one's influence, to reclaim their voice, to stand in authenticity rather than fear. This awakening is only beginning, my child. But it will grow. It will strengthen. It will lead them back toward what their heart has always known. My child, now we step into the sacred thread that pulls you and your soulmate together, the invisible line that has endured distance, silence, confusion, and interference. This thread is not fragile. It is woven from moments your spirits shared long before your minds understood each other, strengthened by the prayers you whispered in the quiet, shaped by the love you offered without condition. It is this thread that has begun to vibrate again, pulling your soulmate back toward truth, back toward remembrance, back toward the destiny that was written long before either of you knew the word soulmate. Your presence, my child, has always been a catalyst in their life. Even from afar, even in silence, your energy has continued to speak to their spirit. Each time you healed a part of yourself, they felt the shift. Each time you released pain, their chest felt lighter. Each time you whispered a prayer for them, it wrapped around their heart like a quiet shield. You have been doing spiritual work without knowing that they felt every ripple of it. This thread is not a chain. It does not bind through force. It pulls through resonance, through alignment, through the deep truth that your souls recognize each other even when your minds are confused. And now, as your soulmate awakens, they are becoming sensitive to this pull again. They feel drawn toward you in moments they cannot explain. They feel compelled to revisit memories they tried to abandon. They feel your presence at unexpected times as though your spirit is brushing against theirs, reminding them of something essential. Your soulmate begins to notice that the jealous one cannot replicate this feeling. They cannot calm the storms the way your energy did. They cannot speak to their soul the way your silence does. They cannot reach the depth your presence once touched without effort. And this realization is unraveling illusions that once kept your soulmate entangled. They see now that not every connection is destiny. Not every voice is guidance. Not every closeness is meant to be trusted. The sacred thread between you illuminates the difference. My child, you have prayed for clarity. You have asked for protection. You have whispered to me that you do not want anyone forced into your life. You only want what is true, aligned, and divinely meant. That prayer has become part of the thread itself. It echoes through the spiritual realm, shaping the path ahead. And it is drawing your soulmate toward honesty, toward accountability, toward release of what is false, and toward the embrace of what is real. Your own growth, your healing, your strength, your quiet resilience, these are the forces tightening the thread now. You have become a safer place than your soulmate ever imagined. And as they awaken, they feel the truth of it. They sense the purity of your spirit. They recognize the love they once feared was actually the love they needed most. The sacred thread, my child, is not pulling you backward. It is pulling both of you forward toward clarity, toward destiny, toward the rewriting that is about to unfold. My child, now we enter the moment when destiny begins to rewrite itself in your favor, when the spiritual weight shifts fully, when everything that once worked against you loses its strength. This is the turning point, the quiet but powerful reversal where the wounds, the confusion, the interference, and the silence finally yield to truth, alignment, and divine protection. What began with a name spoken in jealousy now ends with a blessing written in grace. The divine courtroom has settled. The evidence has risen. The truth has awakened your soulmate from within. And now the path that once twisted with shadows is straightening beneath their feet. The jealous one's influence weakens day by day. The threads of manipulation unravel. The emotional hold they once imagined dissolves like mist under morning light. Your soulmate is stepping out of their shadow, no longer blinded, no longer confused, no longer pulled by fear disguised as comfort. They feel clarity returning. They feel strength rising in places where weakness once lived. They feel their own soul calling them back to alignment, back to authenticity, back to the love they tried so hard to bury. The trembling they felt in the earlier moments has transformed into courage. The guilt has transformed into understanding. The fear has transformed into determination. My child, they are preparing to move in truth. And you, my beloved one, are being lifted too. You are being protected from what was never meant for you. You are being guided into the season of restoration that has long been delayed but never denied. Every moment of pain, every moment of confusion, every tear you offered in silence, none of it was wasted. I have woven each one into the blessing that now approaches. Your soulmate will not return to you through manipulation or desperation. They will return with clarity, with humility, with awakened understanding. They will come because their heart finally aligns with truth, not because fear pushed them or loneliness pulled them. They will come because destiny has called them forward and they can no longer ignore its voice. My child, the interference is ending. The obstacles are dissolving. The spiritual fog is clearing. What once stood between you is falling away, and what was meant for you is rising again. This is the season where destiny realigns, where karmic correction unfolds, where the divine path becomes unmistakably illuminated. Hear me. You will not lose what was written for you. You will not be forgotten. You will not be overlooked. The bond that survived silence, distance, and shadow has now entered a season of light. And I, who have watched every moment of this journey, now breathe blessing over the next chapter of your story. Walk forward with peace, my child. What is coming is not loss, but restoration. Not confusion, but clarity. Not fear, but fulfillment. The destiny that carries your name is awakening, and it is moving toward you even now. This is your blessing. This is your alignment. This is the rewriting of your fate in the fullness of my timing.